Welcome to the channel, viewers. Dr. JW Ayub on the Probe Ricky Facebook page and Count Straight YouTube channel primarily. We're looking at Anika Wells and we're in episode 2, the 4 breaches when the paper trail broke Anika Wells' polished image. This is a behavioural-political analysis from myself. Take it or leave it. I think it's not too bad. But this episode's not merely about travel claims. It's about what happens when polished political femininity collides with documentary evidence, repayment orders, and the slow exposure of entitlement psychology beneath public charm. Anika Wells' feminine public charm. And the paper trail changed the emotional atmosphere because receipts do not respond to charisma. And as this unfolded, Anika Wells got a lesson in that principle. The deeper scandal is not simply that incorrect claims were made. The deeper scandal is the behavioural pattern underneath. Public warmth above, procedural breaches below, explanation after exposure, and a system that appears to cushion political figures from the kind of financial pressure ordinary Australians face immediately. The IPEAU audit found Anika Wells had made 4 incorrect travel claims connected to family travel rules. The repayment total reached $10,116.11, including a 25% penalty loading. Roughly 250 travel claims were reviewed across multiple years. Those numbers matter psychologically because they puncture the emotional spell built earlier in the series. Smiling public figures, female ones like Anika Wells, now shares the frame with repayment figures, audit findings, and breached conditions. And that transition is where public trust fractures and begins to erode. The stronger critique here is behavioural, not theoretical or theatrical. Entitlement rarely introduces itself as criminality. It enters softly. Assumption, convenience, rationalisation, selective interpretation, then emotional softening after exposure. And this is where the covert political female narcissistic underlay quietly enters the atmosphere. Not through cartoon villainy, but through relational immunity, political immunity. And the public figure remains emotionally present as relatable, compassionate, misunderstood, pressured, only human, while the financial breach itself is gradually reframed into administrative imperfection rather than moral criminal failure. And that psychology splits matters, viewers. A struggling Australian woman incorrectly handling public money would not receive a press conference, would not receive institutional cushioning, would not receive strategic apology architecture and narrative management sequencing. The poor civilian Australian struggling woman, she would meet immediate consequence. That is why resentment towards these corrupted political, covert female narcissistic figures like Anika Wells deepens. The citizens begin sensing that political femininity itself can become part of the protective emotional shields surrounding power. The smile softens scrutiny. The apology lowers intensity. The wording reduces outrage, and the system stabilizes the figure before the public fully process the behavior. And this is not proof of criminal corruption. That distinction matters legally. But behavioural corruption often precedes criminal corruption culturally. A society first becomes comfortable with softened accountability before it becomes shocked by larger abuses later. And that's why the paper trail feels morally heavier than the dollar amount itself. The grievance is not simply rules were breached. The grievance is public office appears insulated from the emotional consequences ordinary citizens absorb instantly. Late payment hurts the public immediately. An incorrect welfare form can trigger pressure immediately. A bank error can damage a household immediately. But inside political power, the atmosphere feels slower, softer, buffeted, and narratively managed. And that contrast creates corrosion. The episode should now darken psychologically. Australians begin wondering whether the issue is no longer isolated mistakes, but a broader entitlement culture where explanation arrives faster than accountability. And once Australian citizens begin suspecting that political power protects itself emotionally before it disciplines itself morally, public trust starts deteriorating beneath every future statement, as is the case with Anika Wells. I close with this statement, viewers. A repayment may satisfy procedure. An apology may stabilise headlines. But public trust requires something deeper. Visible morale restraint before exposure to corruption arrives. And for Anika Wells, the issue is not only what was repaid. The issue is what the paper trail revealed about the covert female narcissistic entitlement, the political insulation, and the psychological power of these politicians. I'm Dr. J.W. Ayub. On the Pro Bricky channel, it's called Count Straight, the Count Straight channel. And I'll see you in episode 3 on Anika Wells' behavioural political analysis. Bye for now.